This lesson for the Koine Project Class, we'll look at Ephesians chapter 2, verse 3. And in light of the relationship of the individual and the Lord's church, for example, and the Holy Spirit, and what is that relationship to his ecclesia and to the individuals of whom it is composed, we'll back up just a moment. We'll look at the flesh. Notice some things Paul says and understand the dynamics of it to help us contrast what we know in Galatians about the contradiction between the flesh and the spirit. So Ephesians 2, verse 3. And then he had spoken of children of disobedience in verse 2. So now he says, in whom, or we will say among whom, as it has it in the King James. So among whom also we ourselves, we ourselves, among also we ourselves, all ones, all. So he's got all of us here now, and he says, on this is from anastrepo, to be turned upon, turn upwardly, anastraphamen. This is a second aorist indicative. It's passive. So were caused to turn or be turned. So be turned. That's talking about behavior. So I could just have said caused to behave, to be turned. And potad, then we were caused to be turned. Also, we ourselves all were caused to be turned then. And then we have this poi untes. Oh, nope. Got it out of line. We've been turned then in tice. I'm just freehanding it, but it's good for us to think it, write it out, and think it out, and freehand it. In the lust epithemiais, in the lust, which I often explain it because of this prefix preposition, complete cravings. That is, it's not just thought, but acted out. In this case, being caused to be turned or to behave, be caused to behave in the lust, taste, sarkos, of the flesh, of us. So our particular flesh, which that's interesting. We'll get a chance sometime to do that. While doing, here's our word here for doing from poeo. This is participle untes. So while doing, and then we have this plural form. It's translated desires in the King James, thelemata. But notice it's the same word for wills. The wills, taste, sarkos. Again, here's the flesh, of the flesh. Of the flesh. Then we have and of, tone of, dia, noion. Now you notice and of the, and this is plural also, but dia is where we get our word to. So I will just say of the duplicitous minds. That's the word mind there, minds. Notice it's plural. Duplicitous minds, Paul said, indeed, Kai, we're starting somewhat of a conclusion. Indeed, hey man, this is imperfect, first person plural form of Amy. We were techna, children, phese, that's locative, in nature, orges, children of wrath in nature, as also, hoi loi poi, the remaining ones. So we've seen much about the flesh so far, and see if I can make a small chart here. No room, but we can do a little bit to kind of explain this. Because in one of the lessons I had not made very clear at all, did not demarcate the body. So what we learned was we had this pie chart we learned this years ago in the seminary. So we had, let's say, mind, body, spirit. Of course, you remember we studied, and in John 3:6, spirit generated into us out from the spirit. And I just drew a little section there showing that what had come out from, generated out from the spirit, had become part of us. I was saying the inner man. Ephesians 3:16 talked about the spirit in the inner man, spirit, capitalized spirit in the inner man. And now Paul said, we recall in our lesson in Romans 8, that he said you're not in the flesh but in the spirit. And in Galatians he talked about the spirit and the flesh conflicting. And then the flesh of us, our particular flesh. So I'll just show it as I did before, similar to a barnacle on a boat. Well, let's just do it this way. Here's our particular flesh. So taste, sarkos of us. And in counseling, I've really found that fascinating when people would be struggling with something that someone else had no problems with, which was very interesting. But that's another case. But this very unique, our particular flesh. So Paul said, you're not in this, but rather we're in spirit. That inness here, in spirit. That was in Romans 8. We've covered that before. And yet this contention goes on between the two. But now back to the flesh, what can we say about it from what we've learned? First, it's our particular, so it's particular. That is, some people's predispositions or propensities for something, whether it be by nurture or by nature. And we're dealing with this word nature now. So we have nature involved. I've heard a lot of debates and banter over our nature, but there is a condition or nature of the flesh. C has wills, plural. The flesh has wills, plural. And then D, of course, has duplicitous minds. Which, is what we struggle with even in our hermeneutic, is to look from a view from which no contradiction appears. I know as a young student years and years, decades ago, it was very emphatic and always emphasized, that is, that the Bible contains no contradictions. And then for the rest of our lives, we're spent asking others and even ourselves to pick a side in a contradiction that doesn't exist. So to work to the end to which a view is established and can be comprehended from which a contradiction doesn't appear would be exemplified in the doctrine of the Trinity. That's probably the apex of apologetics, the height of hermeneutics, which really, if we could spend that much work on all of the topics, we would see it possible to demonstrate no contradiction. So let me move out of the way and let you look at the board. So it says, among whom, and I did translate among, that's how King James has it, whom also we ourselves all were caused to be turned in the lust of the flesh of us while doing the wills of the flesh. And that was then, speaking in the time past. So all then and of us, and then the flesh and of the duplicitous minds. Indeed, we were children. Now notice in nature, children of wrath, and as also the remaining ones. So that's a good lesson. And notice the flesh, however, that's why we're told, as I was advised by a very scholastic gentleman, Dr. Jeff C. Barger, not to confuse the body and the flesh. And in this lesson, I think we've well established that and demarcated it appropriately. So enjoy this lesson as we continue this study and look at the implications of the relationship of the Spirit to the individual and to the ecclesia. Have a blessed day. Enjoy this lesson.